Welcome to the Morning Edition Extra. I'm Adelmi Ruiz, coming to you from Alaska's News Sources Digital Desk. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. And to start off, good Thursday morning, we'll be talking about Australia mourning after the mass shooting that hit Bondi Beach, what they're doing, how they're coping, and how they're remembering the lives lost. And loaves of bread were found with razor blades in them in a Texas grocery store, why they were there and how they were discovered. Plus, inmates are training rescue doggies. A look at how the program works and changes lives, 2 lives at a time. Starting us off, we have meteorologist Aaron Morrison, who's going to give us a breakdown over what our day is going to look like as we head into Friday and into our weekend. Aaron.
Yeah, that big chill continues across the state. We are watching single to sub-zero values, which will move in across southeast later this week. That will likely bring some of the coldest conditions the Panhandle has seen since about 2022. And of course, gap winds continue across south central with some of the strongest winds today out towards Valdez, Thompson Pass. And of course, we'll continue to favor areas where those winds remain a concern with those wind chills below zero. Currently at 0 degrees for Yakutat with that wind chill. Feels like McGrath at 19 below, 21 below in Kotzebue, while areas of the slope seeing those wind chill readings anywhere from about 10 to 20 below this morning as well. We've got our blocking pattern out towards the Aleutians, North Pacific, which is keeping things fairly warm compared to the rest of the state. We're also watching an area of low pressure that's dropping to the southeast out of the Chukchi Sea. That is keeping some light snow for areas of western Alaska, winds of about 15 to 30 miles per hour, which will lead to some areas of blowing snow. But that light accumulation will remain with us throughout the day. So this is the upper level setup that we have across the state. We've got our blocking ridge that's situated over the northern Pacific Ocean. And then as you head to the east, this is where we're holding on to these colder conditions as our secondary trough begins to dig across the state. This will lead to some colder weather for parts of the Panhandle, reinforcing those cold conditions across south central, while that ridge out towards the North Pacific will largely continue to keep fairly quiet weather through the Aleutians. It'll also hold on to some warmer conditions relative to the rest of the state, where we continue to see some of this bitter cold staying with us. So for the foreseeable future, I expect many areas of the state to remain on the cold side. In fact, looking at those wind chills across the state, we'll see many areas and some of the coldest locations see wind chill readings of about 20 to nearly 50 below. We are watching parts of the Panhandle, northern Panhandle out towards Tida Inlet as well as Lynn Canal that could see some wind chill readings down to about 50 below into the close of this week as that bitter cold weather remains with us. Single-digit lows or highs across south central. Now in areas where winds continue to remain an issue, we'll likely see highs in the teens. That's what we're dealing with across West Anchorage, while East Anchorage and Midtown holding on to those temperatures in the single digits. That's what we can expect leading up to the winter solstice with a high of 3 degrees. Into next week, we're still watching a chance that we could see some light snowfall accumulation leading up to your Christmas Day. But overall, this dry weather pattern continues with a current snowfall accumulation for the month of December at 2 inches, which is on par with what we did see last year. Adelmi?
Thank you so much, Aaron. Now, President Trump spoke to the nation last night, laying out what he sees as his administration's accomplishments over his first year and what he plans to do next year. Despite criticisms, the president insists affordability is improving. And in honor of the nation's founding, Trump praised members of the military, announcing bonus payments to military members.
We are sending every soldier $1,776. Think of that. And the checks are already on the way. Nobody deserves it more than our military.
With a sizable military population here in Alaska, the bonus payment may award 21,000 military members here in the state with $1,776, as the president said is to thank members for their service as the 250th anniversary of the United States approaches. The payment, or quote, warrior dividend, according to Trump, will arrive before Christmas.
Figuratively and literally having my back.
A subject missing from the night's presidential address is the current military buildup off the coast of Venezuela. Trump announcing on social media he has ordered a blockade of sanctioned oil tankers using Venezuelan ports. taking aim at the nation's main source of revenue. Meanwhile, after seeing the video of the controversial double strike on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean, Senator Dan Sullivan says he's convinced the U.S. did not commit a war crime. Sullivan is one of the few lawmakers who have seen that confidential video. That's because he's on the Senate Armed Services Committee. After questioning the two-star admiral who made the call to strike again, the senator thinks the U.S. did not violate international law. That comes as Democratic lawmakers have accused Secretary Pete Hegseth of doing just that. The Geneva Conventions say shipwrecked combatants have protected status and can't be targeted. And in the defense spending bill recently passed, part of Hegseth's traveling budget will be docked until an unedited version of that video is released. However, that release may not be to the public.
Support the release of those videos to other members of Congress. Right now, the videos have just been released to members of the Intel Committee and the Armed Services Committee. I think every member of Congress should see that.
I think we all deserve to have full information. And I think right now we don't. I certainly don't.
In regards to the National Defense Authorization Act, which received widespread support in both chambers, passing in the Senate with a vote of 77 to 22, it appropriates $900 billion for the military budget and includes Alaska-related provisions. One requires the Defense Secretary to provide quarterly briefings on the development of Arctic infrastructure, which includes the Naval Air Station at Adak. And now John Thompson spoke with our Washington correspondent Emma Wolfhurst on the president's address.
Well, President Donald Trump delivered a nationally televised address from the White House. Washington correspondent Emma Wolfhurst for Alaska's News Source joining us from D.C. Emma, what did the president have to say?
Well, John, the president here really sounded as if he was trying to convince the American people of the job he's done so far in his second administration. He talked up his accomplishments with the economy, safety, crime, and international relations. He started the speech by saying he inherited a mess in terms of inflation and the border from the previous Biden administration and said that can never be allowed to happen again. He went on to talk about kitchen table issues at a time when national polls show the American public is unhappy with the way the Trump administration is handling the economy. The president said grocery and energy prices are falling rapidly and claimed the national average of a gallon of gas was $2.50, even saying it was closer to $1 in some places. The AAA average right now nationally is $2.90, and AAA says no state is below $1.99. The president also said his administration's policies are boosting take-home pay, and even at one point said tariffs were his favorite word. We do know, though, economists say tariffs are the driving force behind rising consumer prices in some aspects. The president also talked about job creation and employment, but yesterday's job numbers show the unemployment rate actually rose last month to a 4-year high. The other big thing the president announced, he said U.S. service members across the country will receive a special warrior dividend before Christmas of $1,776. He said those checks are already on the way and seem to imply that they would be funded from tariff revenue. We don't have too many specific details on those checks just yet.
Emma, and 4 House Republicans, let's see here, have joined a Democratic discharge petition to force a vote on extending Affordable Care Act subsidies. What does this mean for, I guess, people's insurance premiums, and why is this move so significant?
Well, John, these tax credits will still expire in the new year, meaning millions of Americans will see their health insurance premiums more than double. But this move signifies a break by these 4 House Republicans from House Speaker Mike Johnson to sign on to this petition, which was drafted by House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and would force a vote on a 3-year extension of the ACA subsidies. This comes after the GOP pushed ahead with their health care bill in the House, which did not include any extension of the credits. Speaker Johnson says no vote on this 3-year ACA extension bill will happen until January, meaning, as I said, these subsidies will lapse. The House also scrapped votes planned for Friday and will leave town Thursday with the Senate, meaning the Capitol will be closed starting Thursday for holiday break.
All right, Emma, and finally here it says the Congress passed a more than $9 billion annual military spending bill. What is in that package?
This is the National Defense Authorization Act, and this more than 3,000-page package raises troop pay by 3.8% and implements many of President Trump's executive orders and proposals on eliminating DEI efforts in the military. It also grants emergency powers at the U.S. border with Mexico. There are a couple points in this bill, though, in which Congress is sort of defying the administration. The bill requires the U.S. to keep its troop levels in Europe at current levels and sends some military aid to Ukraine, as well as demands more information on those alleged drug boat strikes in the Caribbean. Language in this bill threatens to withhold a quarter of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's travel budget until he provides unedited video of the strikes along with the orders authorizing them to the House and Senate Armed Services Committees. Those committees are currently investigating the September 2nd strike, which allegedly targeted 2 survivors of an initial attack.
Alaska's news source, Washington correspondent Emma Wolfhorst joining us from D.C. Emma, thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
A federal grand jury indicted 2 former Alaska State troopers with federal civil rights violations tied to an arrest in Kenai last year. According to a U.S. Department of Justice indictment, former Sergeant Joseph Miller and former trooper Jason Woodruff are accused of depriving a man of his constitutional rights in May of 2024. The indictment alleges Miller tased, hit, and kicked the man without legal justification and that a dangerous weapon was involved, causing injury. It further alleges Woodruff ordered his police canine to bite the victim while he did not pose a threat. State assault charges were also filed last year. Here's what the Public Safety Commissioner said after those charges were first filed.
I've been with this department 33 years and I've never seen any action like this before by an Alaska State Trooper. And it's hard for me to equate how this has affected me and other troopers that wear this uniform. I've been with this department 33 years.
We received a statement from Commissioner Cockrell saying in part that the department identified the incident during a routine use of force review and is cooperating with prosecutors. And if convicted, Miller and Woodruff each face up to 10 years in prison. The Coast Guard has called off the search for 2 mariners missing since last week. The Coast Guard says Josiah Bracken and Quinn Witten were traveling back from Back Beach in Sitka toward a float house in Camp Coogan Bay. We talked to the Coast Guard, who tells us severe weather over the past few days has made search conditions extremely difficult.
The Coast Guard assets were unable to conduct search efforts Monday night due to weather conditions. And since then, they've been searching, and the weather has improved significantly.
We're working to get more information and will update you as soon as possible. A passenger accused of trying to open a plane door mid-flight has now been indicted. Alaska Airlines confirmed it happened last Wednesday on Flight 87 from Dead Horse to Anchorage. Court records say the passenger acted erratic and attempted to open an emergency door. Crew members restrained the person until the plane landed safely in Anchorage. The passenger has since been banned from the airline. A commission overseeing library issues in the Fairbanks North Star Borough saw 2 resignations this year over changes to its operations and issues with communication. The Library and Literacy Commission acts as a public voice in library operations. A couple years ago, commissioners saw its meetings change location, and members were told some issues were no longer in their scope. According to the borough mayor, these actions were taken to comply with the state's Open Meetings Act. Meanwhile, those who resigned said they could not be as effective meeting every 3 months rather than every month, some viewing it as a lack of communication involving library leadership.
When we have taxpayer institutions that are funded by taxpayers, as much input from the public is what is desirable.
The Library Commission has a long storied history of being a fantastic partner with developing our library, and I can understand their frustration, especially when it comes to the new structure of our commissions and boards.
2 applicants have already been put forward to replace those that resigned. They are scheduled to be considered by the Borough Assembly today. The surviving suspect in the Bondi Beach massacre now faces 15 murder charges. He's also charged with 40 counts of attempted murder and committing terrorist acts. The charges come after the first funeral for the victims, who include rabbis, a Holocaust survivor, and a 10-year-old girl. Will Ripley has more on the funerals and the rising tide of anti-Semitism in Australia that led up to the massacre.
The hearse has just arrived with the bodies of one of the rabbis. Let's just pause for a moment and take this in. Funerals are now underway for the 15 people killed in Sunday's terror attack, and some of the hardest scenes are here in Redfern, where family and friends gathered to remember the youngest victim, 10-year-old Matilda. She leaves behind not just her parents, but her younger sister, Summer. Sunday, the day of the attack, was a day of face painting, playing with goats, and having fun with her parents, who say they were just briefly separated in the crowd, a moment that turned into a nightmare. As this city mourns, families here are left with the same questions: how this happened and why.
It's our loss, it's our community's loss.
Elliot was there. He knows many of the victims. What's it like to grow up as a Jew here?
You just live in like utopia here. This utopia has just turned to dystopia.
Have you noticed a rise in anti-Semitism since October 7th, 2023?
Incredibly. I mean...
Here in Australia?
Incredibly.
October 7th is when Hamas attacked Israel. The retaliation that followed has killed or injured more than 10% of Gaza's population in the last 2 years. An independent UN inquiry said Israel is committing genocide. Israel denies that. There have been protests worldwide, including here in Sydney. During this period, Australia, like many places, has seen a massive spike in anti-Semitic attacks.
We want to stamp out and eradicate anti-Semitism from our society.
The restaurant we're coming up to here was burnt down. There's a school, there's a daycare that was also burnt down. There's been anti-Semitic graffiti, there's been kids having eggs thrown at them, there's everything. It kind of has gotten lost. Not to us. We've been begging our government. We've been telling them. Swipe that way.
Okay.
You'll read some of them.
He shows me the comments to social media posts about the attack. Can you guys see this? Ha ha ha, rotten hell. Rest in Bondi Beach piss water, you ardent genocide defender. Oh my God, I can't go on, actually.
You know, I don't even need to comment on that because...
And this is, I mean...
This is constant. I mean, this is everywhere. Look at this view.
I see what you mean by utopia.
Things are going to be okay. Because at the end of the day, the one thing they can't take from us is that we live in the most beautiful place on earth.
Will Ripley, CNN, Sydney.
A Texas woman has been arrested after razor blades were found inside packages of bread in 2 Walmart stores in Biloxi, Mississippi. 33-year-old Camille Benson was arrested and charged with attempted mayhem on Tuesday. She's in jail under a $100,000 bond. The Biloxi Police Department started their investigation on Monday after getting reports of customers finding razor blades in loaves of bread they had bought. Police reviewed surveillance video and released these photos of the person of interest. Investigators then received information that led them to arrest Benson.
So it was clear that the razor blades had been shoved through the plastic packaging. They found, once they had a couple of reports from customers returning items that they had found once they got home to have been compromised with razor blades. They checked all of their stock on the floor. Like I said, they found several items that had been compromised with razor blades. Saw that it happened, from the outside. It wasn't like this happened to the bread and then the bread was packaged.
A statement from Walmart said the health and safety of their customers is always a top priority. The statement further said the company had removed and thoroughly inspected all potentially affected products at impacted stores in Biloxi. The statement also said customers who believe they may have purchased a tampered product should dispose of it promptly and visit their local Walmart for a full refund. A federal appeals court says President Trump can keep National Guard troops deployed in D.C. for now. A lower court had previously ordered their removal. The appeals court then froze that order while they considered their decision. Wednesday, the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals said the troops can stay because D.C. is a federal district. They said Trump would likely win a lawsuit brought by the D.C. Attorney General that questioned their deployment. Under Wednesday's order, Trump can keep the National Guard troops in the nation's capital until at least late February. Several thousand troops have already been there for months. And a newly announced arms deal between the U.S. and Taiwan is one of the largest ever between the countries. The more than $11 billion package includes missiles, rockets, and drones. It comes after China has been surrounding the island with aircraft and ships almost daily. China's Communist Party claims Taiwan as part of its territory and considers its independence a separatist movement. But the small island is still self-ruled and democratic. U.S. policy is to sell arms to Taiwan, though ties with the nation remain unofficial. Beijing publicly condemned the new arms deal, saying that it will, quote, backfire. Such threats have become par for the course when these types of deals are announced. California is threatening to ban sales of Tesla cars in the state for 30 days. It's because a regulator alleges the term autopilot for Tesla's driver assist feature is false advertising. The California Department of Motor Vehicles says Teslas do not live up to the term autopilot because they are not capable of operating as truly autonomous vehicles. The company and CEO Elon Musk have often made ambitious claims about the capability of its cars, but the automaker has also cautioned that drivers must stay alert and ready to take control of the vehicle in case of problems, even when using its driver assistance features. The DMV first brought action against Tesla on the autopilot term in 2023. The two parties have been unable to reach an agreement. Now Tesla would need a court to step in if it wants to avoid California's halt of sales. More evidence about how tanning beds can increase skin cancer risk and how to keep your child from overeating during the holidays. Bradley Blackburn has some of the day's top health stories.
This holiday season, doctors say it's a good idea to talk with your teenagers about healthy eating. A new poll from the University of Michigan finds a third of parents offer general advice, such as eat in moderation. But specific tips could be more helpful, like decide in advance what to eat, choose low-calorie foods, and get more exercise. Nearly a third of parents say their child eats out of boredom, and about 1 in 10 eat when stressed. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, is the nation's largest food purchasing assistance program. Now, new research published in JAMA found if all states matched the most generous state's policy, it would keep 6.5 million Americans from food insecurity. compared to if all states matched the most restrictive policy. Food insecurity is rising in the U.S. and is linked to poor health. And people who use tanning beds have nearly triple the risk of getting melanoma compared to those who never use them. Researchers at Northwestern University found melanoma-linked DNA damage is also more widespread across the body, including areas that don't get much sunlight. Melanoma is the deadliest skin cancer, killing more than 8,000 people every year. Those are some of the day's top health stories. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
And it may be cold here in Anchorage with even colder temps on the way, but it's downright cozy here compared to Fairbanks. So here's some local reactions to the intense cold that they're seeing as it's tightening its grip on a large part of the state. But in Fairbanks, sub-zero temperatures are nothing new. However, people we spoke with say the cold snap feels more intense than usual.
I used to walk to school, and I can't really anymore because my hands would freeze off, and I don't want that. I've only been here 5 years, and this is like an absurd amount of cold. It's so dry, you keep on getting nosebleeds all the time.
When it's cold, and wintertime's wintertime up here. You layer up, that's what you gotta do.
Make sure to have auto start.
Snow removal operations in areas like Fairbanks remain suspended because of the bitter temperatures. Officials say cancellations are automatic when readings hit 30 below zero at Fairbanks International Airport, a step meant to protect heavy equipment. A group of incarcerated men in Pennsylvania are preparing for re-entry into the community with the help of some four-legged friends. It's a prison-to-community workforce development initiative, and it's proving to be quite successful. Madeline Wright has more.
In a place built for confinement, this classroom is focused on second chances. All the students here are inmates at the George W. Hill Correctional Facility, and at their feet are shelter dogs rescued from euthanasia. It's part of a program called New Leash on Life.
The dogs help the individuals to get in touch with the compassion that lives within them, that sometimes they bury deep within them because they don't feel good about themselves and the things that they've done. Sit down, split it.
Over 12 weeks, the inmates train the dogs on basic commands like sit and stay, helping them get ready for adoption. At the same time, the inmates learn resume writing, job interview skills, and interpersonal communication, and have access to therapy. Jail officials didn't want me to use the participants' names or show their faces, but those who spoke to me say the program has made a huge difference.
The skills I picked up is more so anger management. That's really the biggest thing. Like, these dogs are so emotional supportive. My life has changed because I actually look forward to something now.
The dogs sleep in crates in the inmates' cells. The program administrator here at George Hill says having dogs living at the jail brightens everyone's mood.
Do you have a dog? What kind of dog? And it brings staff together in a way that we didn't expect.
For these inmates, their graduation on Thursday will be a celebration of change. The 6 rescue dogs they've trained all have loving homes waiting. The inmates say they've seen the transformation in the animals and in themselves.
When he first came, he was hiding behind chairs, shaking his leg, tucking his tail. Now he's one of the most loudest and playful dogs.
With $1.9 million in federal funding supporting the program, the inmates will next move into paid internships while building hope for the future. A fresh start for people and pups alike. In a place built for confinement.
From social media to academic pressures, teenagers face a lot of mental health challenges, which can lead to anxiety and maybe depression. Giving teens a positive way to cope with those mental health hurdles is the mission of the organization Positive Somebody, which is now getting a caffeinated boost from a Michigan business. David Andrews has the story.
When Jenny Metzmaker walks into the Big B coffee shop in Hazlitt, leaving with a cup of Joe takes a back seat.
Hi Jenny, how are you?
To leaving behind a counter full of Positive packs. Jenny calls them coping kits for teens.
It has a journal writing activities. It's got breathing activity, all of that.
Plus, they contain important advice about nutrition, hydration, and sleep.
I think they liked the sleeping and eating habits the most.
Store manager Mara Duncan. So, as a business, why is it important for you to be involved with this effort?
Here at Bigby, we don't just pour coffee, we pour love as well. So it's important to love our community.
Mara's really great in the Hazlet community. Bringing awareness was really important to her.
Raising awareness about teen mental health and offering some positive support.
So the journal and the positive pack is a good way to get your feelings out onto paper instead of keeping things bottled up inside.
Duncan first learned of the positive packs from her little sister who goes to Hazlet High School. It's just one of the many Mid-Michigan schools benefiting from Metzmaker's mission. Over the past 5 years, Metzmaker has donated thousands of positive packs and teaches students mental health coping skills.
So we go into schools and we do journal writing activities, we do breathing activities.
Because her positive somebody message has been so successful in schools, Metzmaker brewed a plan to now get businesses on board.
Actually, why not a coffee shop? That's like the perfect place.
We have a lot of the middle schoolers come in after school with all their friends.
So that's how we're going to reach more people, is by partnering with businesses and community members.
So the next time you go into your favorite coffee shop or restaurant, you might see those positive packs and a donation can. Jenny Metzmaker hopes you take a pack for your student and pay it forward to help keep her positive mental health mission percolating.
It's the most wonderful time of the year, and to celebrate, first responders are once again preparing for a long-standing community event. It's the Lisa Whitmore Shop with a cop and firefighter event. Anchorage first responders are teaming up with Fred Meyer in Midtown to bring holiday joy to local children. This Friday, 100 kids from area shelters will get a special Christmas shopping spree. They will arrive in style, getting picked up in a limo and taken to the store. There, each child will be paired with an Anchorage police officer or firefighter acting as their personal shopping buddy. They'll have the chance to pick out up to $225 worth of presents, making their holiday wishes come true.
A lot of these kids have been told, hey, you're not going to have a Christmas tree and you're not going to have any presents just because of their circumstance. And so to be able to tell them that now they get an opportunity to have presents really builds that anticipation, that joy, that excitement for Christmas Day.
This event has been around for 27 years. After the kids finish their shopping, they will have their gifts wrapped by volunteers from the community. The Salvation Army is preparing for a big gift distribution. Thousands of holiday gifts are being sorted in Anchorage as Toys for Tots teams up with the Salvation Army and other local businesses this Friday and Saturday. They will be giving the donations to the 880 families, nearly 2,500 children who have registered.
People are very generous for their what they give to help those in need during the holiday season here. So we're helping more families this year than we did the past couple of years. So the need is greater, of course, because of the inflation that is happening around the nation, especially in Alaska, high cost of living. So people are needing a little extra help this year.
Organizers say the program will also be giving families bikes and food gift cards. And if you would like to donate to the Salvation Army, you can donate online or your nearest Red Kettle location. And that wraps up the Morning Edition Extra for this Thursday morning. Thank you so much for joining me and have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you again at Alaska's News Source at noon for the latest in news, weather, and more. Have a wonderful day.